it ends
we're at the end
here.
already?
Yes,
Jesus
we are.
Christ, you're
Gotta go
right.
fast, gotta go fast, gotta go fast.
Okay, audience, for reference sake, Final Fantasy VII, 3 discs. This game, 4 discs. Yet the plot feels significantly shorter in this game.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, finally at the end of the game, we actually meet the main villain in person.
And
Wow,
so
it's
let's see how she looks like.
Hello, Mama.
Oh,
Yes. Have fun, Shiroi.
is that hair even physically possible?
I will mention more
Go ahead,
later because now there's dialogue.
Seed. Oh, okay.
Go on.
Seed.
What inspiring dialogue.
10 out of 10 writing.
Go ahead.
Seed.
I can't go back to this. Jerry, I think you got the raw end of the deal here.
Go ahead, Shuri. Go ahead.
Curse all seeds.
Go ahead.
Swarming like this dialogue. The way this is written is distracting. Swarming like locusts, archons, generations.
Richard, why?
I'm having fun, okay? This plot went to the birds, so I decided I had some fun.
I don't know. I mean, I know it's a shitty plot, but come on, Richard. Really, you shouldn't be playing Mortal Kombat before localized.
The world is on the brink of that ever elusive time compression.
Oh, so there you go. She's once again pulling the whole, whatever, the world is gonna go to shit anyway, so might as well kill it right now. Bullcrap that Final Fantasy villains do all the time, and I'm so tired of this crap.
Well, this world is fucked, so let's not do anything about it.
I actually really like that's one of the big reasons why I really like the White Witch tier, where Oliver really tells off the White Witch, no, you can't do that, so fuck off.
Insolent fools.
How best to describe Ultimecia? She's like a fusion of the Emperor from Final Fantasy II, Xstep from Final Fantasy V,
sure.
Sephiroth. Oh.
Your vain crusade ends here, seeds.
Pretty much those villains I mentioned.
Yeah, but no, I
Yeah.
get the Sephiroth thing from her hair.
Oh, definitely.
Sorry, I get a mention later.
The price of your meddling is death beyond death.
That
I'll
doesn't.
kill you! I'll kill you!
Hold on, Joe.
That's undead, Pedro.
There's a better line. Darkness beyond darkness awaits you, Riku.
Darker yet darker.
Go ahead.
I shall send you to a dimension beyond your imagination.
Something.
Can they get 72 versions as well?
You see,
It will send you to versus 13.
You see, Dweb, Ultimecia is basing her dialogue on the formula for great Star Wars dialogue. Something.
Oh,
Dark side. Something.
I will
Complete.
reign, and you will be my slaves for eternity. Laugh.
Evil maniacal laugh.
Maniacal laugh.
So I have a bit of a theory here. I wonder if they were trying to capture the same effect with Kefka, where the localization, well...
No, because Jovan, again, they're not trying to make her crazy, like also random, you know.
I don't mean making her crazy, I mean like the whole trying to give her a verbal tick, or something that would stand out more in the English.
I gotta be honest, I'm literally researching as we speak, but because I don't honestly remember.
I genuinely get the feeling that in the original Japanese version, she was just as bland as it gets. So I guess Richard was trying to, at the very least, give her some kind of thing in his translation. Again, it's one of those things, everybody. Like we've said before.
Wait, this bit.
Go ahead.
I'll start with you three.
What she means with that...
Pick randomly.
What she means with that is that for this final battle, you don't get to choose your party. Ultimecia does. Ultimecia will pick 3 party members at random from the 6 that you have, meaning There you go. Pick Renoa, Irvine, and Selfie. And
Hey, here I can do something. Oh wait.
well, the reason I loaded, that's why whenever you get to this battle, save before you get to it and keep keep respawning, because at this point in the game you need Squall for this battle, because this limit break is incredibly
broken.
It's clearly imperative to beating the cheap shit that this boss includes. But anyway,
I love how you timed it just right so that the music didn't sound out of beat.
no, that was purely accidental, Joe. I'm a good editor, but not that good.
Wow,
but,
so luck
you-
then.
Well, okay, here's the thing, Shirei, because what I'm presenting about now in... What? Lives?
Look, all that power and it did nothing.
What I'm presenting right now, Shirei, is the artwork that Nomura refined for the Dissidia games, but keep in mind, it's strictly based on original appearance, so this is as close as it gets. Maybe, Pedro, you can show it, like, potentially while we're doing the Final Fantasy, you normally do the image, like, you can flash it at some point. Her dress disappears in her crotch.
Yep.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Again. Like I said, obvious Sephiroth influence here.
Like,
where,
what the fuck is that?
I feel like it's just an awkward angle because her right leg is forward a bit, so it just looks like it's tucked in. But yeah, it's an unfortunate angle because it does look like it's disappearing up her crotch.
That being said, I really dig this design. The horn shape of her haircut.
This art piece is cool.
The fur that transitions into the actual wings. That is pretty cool, and also the fact that she has more beastly appearance with claws and on both hands and feet.
Oh, I agree. No, the only game.
The first something that Nomura is good at is attention to details for his artwork and these shows.
Oh, guys, speaking of which, might as well mention it now. Ultimecia has a GF.
Yes,
I forgot to mention because sorry, my bad. Remember the whole thing about naming your ring? Basically, what Ultimecia did was pick Squall's inner fears and insecurities and transfer it into a GF. And so you think, oh, she's somewhere around on GF that you already have. No, out of nowhere she brings this winged lion figure that has the same name of Squall's ring. That was the foreshadowing for this point. Hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And that is the main reason why the theory was that Ultimecia was Renoa. Essentially, the idea was that Ultimecia was Renoa, grown old and bitter with her friends having died due to the Seed Wars and whatnot, essentially. And pretty much deciding, okay, you know what, screw the world, I'm gonna run things better here, essentially. However, the reason that she hasn't addressed them is because she's forgotten them because, well, Griever, being a GF attached to her, has caused her to forget stuff, which by this point has been something established, essentially.
Yeah.
So you would think that would have actually been something that was true. I mean, it would be an interesting thing in a way to make Ultimecia more of a tragic villain. And wouldn't that be interesting? One of your own party members becomes the bad guy.
And now
allow me to show you.
Guys.
Griever, make them bleed. Basically, when you defeat Griever, he gives an ultimate super awesome death attack that tries to basically kill you.
I know how specific, how unique and original this is. Quistis can use this.
Yep. So.
And they try to make it look very epic, though.
But these, not immediately. Oh yeah, and by the way, watch out because if your chaos party stays there for too long, Ultimecia will essentially absorb her into the nothingness, and you will not be able to use them anymore, and it will be replaced by someone else.
Oh, wow!
And now it transition to.
I shall junction myself onto Griever.
Yeah,
that's right, ladies and gentlemen. We're literally a half hour away from finishing the game, and now of all times is when they introduce this new concept that apparently people can junction themselves into their guardian forces.
Into this weird freakish abomination. And mind you, this thing also has a unique battle theme called Maybe I'm a Lion. They really wanted to hype this thing up.
So does this mean... So it's literally nothing but just an excuse to have this boss design, because the game never at any point explores how the hell this works, how far the potential of it goes. It's literally nothing but just a an excuse pulled off of Kitaze's ass to have this particular design for a boss battle.
Now, I can imagine the reason why Ultimecia is capable of doing that, but none of your party members do, is because she has so much power, she can do that, and this is more also of a last resort kind of thing. But again, it's still the point is that the game should have foreshadowed this. You bother to foreshadow Griever itself, might as well try to foreshadow this as well.
Not just that,
cool
Tail.
design.
Go ahead. Not just that,
Cool
Tail.
design.
Go ahead.
Cool design as well, though. Again, am I the only one who's kind of reminded of Bizarro Sephiroth with this boss?
To be fair, Jova, this has been a thing since pretty much 6, because
that's true.
The different symbology that Kefka goes for his final boss is basically paved the way for JRPGs of all kind.
It's one of those things. It's one of those things that where they unlock this interesting idea, but they don't do anything with it. It's literally cock teasing at this point. Like, hey, look, there was this interesting idea about the junctioning angle, but we're not going to do anything with it.
Again, this is not corroborated by the fact that, again, aside from your party and Ultimecia in this case, no one in the fucking world uses the junction system.
Yep.
Well, okay, that's the thing. Junctioning was something that we could, I guess, assume was a thing in the world, but this is the first time where it is.
No, remember, Jova, it's a marked difference, because when we meet Laguna again in the present, he tells us that the presence of the fairies, aka the party, actually made them stronger, and he doesn't know why. That's because the party was using junction.
Not just that, Jova, but Quest is literally, via dialogue, teaches Squall how to junction shit. So it is a concept in the world itself.
A common thing. The problem is that we don't see anyone else using it. Like, we don't see the fact that the GF are supposed to be like the Pokemon equivalent, which they should be, technically.
Alright, so one more final form.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
It's
with the actual final boss feat, which is basically it's supposed to be the one with. I get the idea that Uematsu knew that he could not top One Winged Angel, so he decided to just do something more safe for this one. As you will see, because it doesn't have the grandiose, the choir and everything that One Winged Angel had.
This one, ironically, feels more like Birth of a God, which was the theme of Bizarro Sephiroth.
Well, this one in particular, the one that's right after I was talking about, the one that tied to the actual final boss.
That's the thing. Okay, to comment on the artwork, because I didn't get the chance to. No. It's cool. It's cool. Again, the only game, at least the main series games, spin-offs are a whole nother equation. When it comes to the main series Final Fantasy games, the only game where I really have a genuine big problem with Nomura's character designs is in 10. And
there we go.
Well,
oh my god, what's wrong with your face?
nothing, Teo, because she has no face now. I am Ultimecia.
Oh,
Time
that's
shall
the thing.
compress, and now for some reason she's using the C. Whatever. All existence
Richard,
denied.
Did you fall asleep again on work?
I think he did.
okay, so here's the thing. She
The real
technically-
Ultimecia is under there.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if you, ladies and gentlemen in the audience, if for some reason you haven't checked our Ni no Kuni playthroughs, please do, because I can assure you this guy now, in today's current time, is a master localizer. I assure you. He has come a long way since 1999.
But speaking also of designs, again, Nomura will revisit this kind of design when making the summon spirit of Anima for Final Fantasy X. It's really inspired by that, because the real Ultimecia, the real Ultimecia is dangling under this construct that's on the ground. And again, this final boss game is called the Xtreme, which is pretty fine, honestly. Not really the most high quality of the final boss themes for me, but it's still pretty solid on its own.
I'm still there over here.
To answer
Shut up,
Jova's...
Selby.
Go ahead.
I think it seems a bit weird though. Like, well, I always thought during this boss that, there's gonna be a point where obviously she flips upside down to show the duality of it. But nah.
No, what you can do with it is that in this particular fight only, after you damage enough, you can actually start absorbing from the bottom, which is the real Ultimecia, an exclusive magic you can use here, Apocalypse, and you can only use it for this fight.
So I'm not gonna bother because might as well just continue doing it.
Yeah.
I gotta say, Ultimecia, with the way you're hanging upside down like a bed, is the blood rushing to your head starting to annoy you yet?
To answer Jova's question, no, Jova. The only real issue, for 13.1 was, like Teo said, some of the summon designs and some of the boss designs here and there. Not so much the character designs. The character designs themselves for 13.1 are perfectly fine for me, at least.
Yes, I don't know. Something about 13 feels...
Well, a lot about
It's
Prophet.
the way it looked, Jova. The Crystal Engine didn't really look best back then, to be honest. Yeah, not in a sense
true,
that,
but
not in a sense that it wasn't powerful in terms of graphical component. No, it was. It's just that the actual implementation of the actual models in the game, the art style used for in-game, didn't really look great to me.
well, but here's the thing. I'm not talking about. Go ahead.
I'm talking about the character designs.
Yeah.
Something about the character designs feels meh in 13.
Oh, and now she starts making a bit of a chant. So since she only gets in pieces, I'll actually try to put the entire quote here. Go on.
Let me actually see if I can find the original.
No, I'm actually looking for it.
Because the actual hand drawings that Nomura made, they look perfectly good. I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna say it's the best he's ever made or anything, but yeah, it looks perfectly fine. I mean, especially in comparison to the sequels.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I mean, okay, the first 13 game is essentially having a very, 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 very bad day.
Oh, there you go.
13 is like having a very terrible month.
Alright, Shiro, I'm posting something in the chat, which is the quote that Ultimecia is referring to. Do you mind read it for the audience?
What, right now?
Well, yeah, because again, she's only posting saying it in pieces, but I gave you the entire thing, so you don't have to look at the monitor for this one.
Go ahead.
Reflect on your childhood, your sensation, your words, your emotions. Time will not wait, no matter how hard you hold on. It escapes you, and...
The phrase is...
What in God's name are you blathering about?
Yeah, the phrase is left intentionally, cut in half. If I remember correctly, the Dissidia games expand a bit on it and essentially says, and I will rule supreme, essentially, on it.
Oh,
And there you go. So yeah, after we defeat her, Ultimecia explodes.
Oh, hey, Sheree, that was perfectly timed.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, it's one of those.
Awesome
No,
explosion. Okay, let me put it this way. Final Fantasy 13 is like having a terrible week. Final Fantasy 13 2 is like having a terrible month. Lightning Returns is like a terrible year.
Jova. Final Fantasy 2 is like having a terrible Wii and the actual toy.
so yeah, time compressed completely, and now we're lost because let's face it, our plan to beat the villain by letting her win was kind of stupid.
Damn it! Why did we listen to my dumbass dad about this?
Let's go back to our time.
Zell,
Oh, God.
Zell, what the fuck?
So G, again, I have to emphasize.
Just calm down and think where we have to go.
Again, I have to.
Guys, don't pick the wrong time.
Again, I have to emphasize. G, maybe it wasn't a good idea to just allow the sorceress to do what she wanted. But
Again, I'll explain more about this after the final FMB because again, I have my own personal theory, not in like it's all the super canon, but that's basically my personal head.
Sure.
But again, that's your curse after defeating final boss, so be condemned into an Apple store. Enjoy.
Not just
Oh
that.
no!
I'm sorry. In the meantime, let me just quickly respond. I don't know, Jova. I'll still take 13.1's designs over something like Seymour's design or Riku's design. Riku from 10, not the Riku from
That's
Kingdom.
with 2 Ks, Pedro. Riku.
That's it. The point is, no. At least the character designs in Final Fantasy 13.1, they look rational. Whereas stuff like Seymour and Waka's hair, like it's just.
Waka is a gigantic cowlick.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Squall, where are you going? This is Cypher. I will find you no matter where you go, and you will kneel before me.
I'm gonna find sis.
Get over it.
Don't leave me.
Squall.
Yeah. Matron.
Alright, let's actually focus on the ending then.
Yeah,
Because it's
it is actually
important. Yep. Excuse me, have you seen a little boy?
Oh, this is so
Symbolism.
awkward. You don't have to worry. The boy won't go anywhere. I know.
What did we
How did
told
you
you
get
about
here?
time paradoxes?
I think so too. Poor thing.
Oh,
Suddenly Ultimecia.
You're alive? Thought I
always
killed
has
you.
been.
The sorceress? How do you know that?
Yes, Matron. We had defeated her. Matron, stand back, lest she cause a time paradox.
It's okay. There's no more need to. How do you?
Excuse me.
And how do you know that?
Well, sorceress and all that.
That sorceress is just looking for someone to pass her powers on to.
Remember, Pedro, the legend about the sorcerer is actually
Ah,
mentioned
okay. You're right. You're right.
especially on books and stuff.
In order to die in peace, a sorceress must be free of all powers. I shall take over that sorceress's powers. I do not want one of the children to become one. So there you go.
That's right, guys. The reason Adea became a sorceress was because we killed Ultimecia, which means the entire thing
Is a
It's a
time
time
loop. A time loop.
Again, a nod to the first Final Fantasy where it was supposed to be a stable time loop. The problem is that in this one, you don't break it. You're actually part of it, because this is basically what starts the cycle in the first place. An ideal way to break the loop would have been Squall killing Ultimecia in this very spot before she possesses Adea.
Oh, no.
guess
Well, actually,
it-
Tail, remember, Idea literally just told us, Tail. The only way she can die is if she passes her powers on to someone. Otherwise, she can't die.
not only
Again,
that, but
that was the convention, but again, the ideal writing would have been breaking that kind of convention and, the loop as a whole.
to be fair to you, when it comes to this kind of plot, I don't think the idea is to break the loop, but to actually show that this is how things are meant to be, in the sense where things do work out still in the end, despite the loop here and there.
Well,
That's
not
not-
entirely,
not
because
really.
Ultimecia will still be a thing technically in the future. Again, even though the entire thing was made so they could try to prevent. The problem is that when you start thinking about it, things are not better. Because yes, even if the characters manage to come back to their present, Ultimecia will still be a threat in the future before she's defeated by them. Meaning that she still can possess Reno at any moment.
Actually, I think the idea with this time loop is that essentially, with Ultimecia defeated, we know that the future will be free of her reign. Which
Well,
means
yes,
that the
but
future will be
before
better.
that kind of future, Ultimecia is still present and she can manipulate the past at any moment she wants.
Yeah, that's the
okay.
problem.
Now, hear me out here. I think they may be going a bit multiverse Furianos, in the sense where Ultimecia was defeated in the previous
Honestly, Jova,
timeline.
there is a much, much better explanation, but we'll explain it after the final FND.
Well, okay, just allow me though. The way I've always seen it is like, well, essentially by defeating Ultimecia in that particular timeline, while there is a time loop of sorts per se, it creates a better timeline in a sense, essentially.
Sorry, guys, do you have a time?
Ah,
go
very
to 20,
funny.
go to 23:45.
Because I'm not alone.
23:39.
Sure.
Almost
I'm
there.
never alone. If I call out, they will answer.
All right, let me just quickly count webs in, and then I'll recap. And click. Anyway,
Where is everyone?
let me recap real quickly. Basically, Squall even told Idea right now, you have to go on and tell Sid to establish Balam Garden, create seed, so that we will be there to, so that time will continue. So there you go. That's how Idea got the idea for establishing Garden and Seed from Squall. There you go. So yeah,
Don't worry,
the
I-
whole thing is one gigantic time paradox.
Well, a time paradox loop in a sense.
No,
Stuff will
again,
work out.
it's a time loop, a stable time loop, but one that cannot be broken, unlike the one of the first game.
See, let me explain this, Jova, real quick. Since you, the reason people tend to have a problem, people like me and Taylor have a problem with this, is because, so basically, what you're telling me is that we didn't really entirely, at least as far as the game tells us, defeat the villain for good, for realsies. technically, there's still the possibility of Ultimecia, like Teo said, possessing shit in the past and trying to revert shit back in her favor. So really, at the end of the day, we still, for all intents and purposes, haven't actually properly saved the world in its entirety, really. And as a result, the ending doesn't come across as satisfying as it should be to us.
Now, to mention, like we mentioned, again, this is basically just a gigantic FMV from now on, meaning that all the minor plot lines that were going on in the game will be very quickly skimmed over in a matter of frames, just to be spaced in the actual, FMV, instead of actually be resolved. Again,
we're lost in the terrain of Testament.
Oh no!
Is anyone else here?
Look! The ending of Final Fantasy VII was left ambiguous on a purpose, but this one clearly tries to be more conclusive, and yet it misses so many things at the same time, probably because the way it's structured.
Yeah,
it's kind of sad.
My inkling has always been that the time loop essentially will result in Ultimecia being destroyed, essentially, which means that, yes, things will, in the end, work out for the better. It just so happens that in order for Ultimecia to be killed, though, Edea has to become a sorceress.
I don't know, the game never actually properly explains clearly how this works.
Trust me. I do not blame anyone for not feeling satisfied with this ending, because even if that is...
Nowhere to go.
Assuming that is the case, it's... what a shock! Not portrayed that well. And honestly here, I don't blame you guys, because this is a thing that Square tends to have a hard on for.
There you go. So, sorry, I thought you were finished. Go ahead, Jova, real quick, because I have to say something.
This is another thing Square have a hard on for. These, mystical and ambiguous endings that seem all mirror, mysterious, and whimsical or stuff that's meant to confuse you. Kind of like the ending of Kingdom Hearts 1, because I have no idea how they went from that to Grassy Field or whatnot, but... that's basically my point here. This is, again, another thing that Square unfortunately have a hard-on for, and the problem with 8 is, we'll combine that with all the other issues the game has, combined with Square's own trappings, and, well, yeah, you've got
Okay, I'm gonna be honest, Jova, I'm gonna take ambiguous for the sake, even pretentious ambiguous, over the morbid obsession that Square has over making reverse isekai endings, where their protagonists end up in the real world.
Alright, let me,
Chrono Cross has it, Lightning Returns has it, the first anime of Full Metal Alchemist had it.
Let me,
sorry, go on.
So yeah, Shiroi, time compressed, the world is fucked, so you're probably wondering, Shiroi, how the hell are Squall and Renoa, and the others for that record, meant to, go back to our reality exactly? How are we gonna get out of this one, Shiroi? What do you think?
We're not, probably.
When the footage is not rewinding.
Shiroi, allow me to... Shiroi, allow me to refer you back to Laguna's major plan for solving all these problems.
What is going on in my mind?
I think Pedro's copy's broken.
No,
Yeah.
this is actually how it is, I assure you.
Basically, Squall's having all these memories.
Remember this, time is compressed, so we're literally seeing all of time flash before our eyes, basically.
You will never be free of me, Squall, I swear!
Shut up, Cypher. I'm busy having a mental breakdown right now.
You need me!
I have no idea what the hell is even happening at this point.
This is my breakdown, not yours. Go away.
Also, I don't remember if they focus on it, but amongst these, there's a freeze frame of Squall without a face. That's super creepy.
Alright, I actually do... well, at the very least, there is one particular part of this ending that I do enjoy personally.
And it ends?
Well, aside from that...
And here's the thing. He saw the
He has an actual literal mental breakdown.
But that's okay.
Because now we start. I think if I correctly, it's now that this starts Eyes on Me.
Not just that, but like I said to Shiroi, we're gonna use Laguna's plan to solve this problem anyway. But anyway, no. The part that I like about the ending is the later dwebs. It's one of those things where it's like the one part of this ending that I can actually personally relate to, and I'll explain how when we get to it. And again, like I said, and also say that it's the one thing about this ending that actually does feel like an actual payoff to a build-up. So that's the one. But again, I'll explain when we get to it. For now, so yeah, Renoa is also lost in the terrain of Testament, and she's looking for Squall, and she found him.
Because of course it's just these two.
Oh look, Squall's dead again.
Well, Sheila, here's the thing: they found each other, but unless they can get out of here, they'll eventually die. So how are we gonna get out of this one?
I know that this is supposed to be an extremely touching moment. I should be really moved, but
in order for that to happen, the relationship would actually have to be well constructed from a plot standpoint.
But that's the thing, Pedro. Again, the people that I know think it is, and I do believe.
Yeah, and they're wrong. But
no, well,
like, carry on, Tia.
I can still see where they're coming from in some way. I'm sorry. Like, yes, I do see things this way, but I get the idea that especially being the experience that they had with this game. It was more of a thing that, like I said, it was more tied to nostalgia than anything. But no, sorry, I'm diverging. I need to recollect my thoughts better. I'll mention this later.
It's like
especially because I don't know where she right now. Now we transition to the present, and guess who we're focusing on now?
Hey, Cypher.
Hey, Cypher! How's the fish catching?
I have no idea.
He's
look at that! Despite the breakup we saw at the end of Disc 3,
fuck this shit.
Apparently they're friends again. So that whole breakup at the end of Disc 3 was for nothing. Apparently, they're friends again. It seems.
Maybe he realized that he missed them.
Not only that, Shiro, I'm instantly forgiven by all my war crimes.
Yay!
Yay!
Well, maybe the time Paradox erased his war crimes.
Seriously, Cypher just shows up.
That's a possibility, Dwibs, but the game never tells us. That's the problem.
We don't know how Cypher got out. We don't know if they rescued him. We don't know why he wasn't under arrest, and we don't know why is a change of heart like this.
Alright, this is not.
Your favorite character is alive.
Alright, here's the bit that's the bit that I like. This is the ending of Laguna's plot. Basically,
he returns to Windhill.
Not just he returned to Windhill, and he's reminiscing on the past. And there you go. Now we transition to the past, and I really like this scene in particular because I actually can relate to this personally. There you go. Hey Rain. So there you go. As you might remember, Laguna was still on that thing where he needed, there was always the possibility of trying to, There you go. Oh, hold on. Oh, there you go. So this is what I also like. Laguna decided, no, I'm not gonna allow it to happen. The same thing that happened with Julia. I'm going to confess to her immediately and not bumble my way through. And
also why it reinforces the fact that these two are actually Squall's parents.
Not just that, and there you go. See, there's the ring on them as well. What I like about this is that again, it's an actual payoff to something that we built up previously, and second, I'm the one, speaking from a personal standpoint, I'm also the one that proposed. So personally, I'm really this actually feels very relatable to me. So yeah, and again, I do appreciate the fact that they at the very least managed to actually have a nice payoff for one of their things for once. That's like the.
And if only they didn't kill Rain off screen.
That's the one problem. Yeah, that's the one major problem. Yeah.
Meanwhile, Zell, Selfie, and Christus and the rest all die.
No, don't worry, please. We will see them later, in a way.
And there you go, Laguna. Anyway. But at the very least, we get to see Laguna visiting her. There you go, Rain Loire. She even has his last name now. So there you go.
Which means, you know what, guys? That Squall's last name should not be Leonhardt, but Loire.
So there you go, and you even see Kiros and Ward in the background there. So there you go, Kiros alone and Ward, and at the very least, these people at the very least get to have their happy ending. So that's nice at least.
Anyway, going back to what Tio was saying, yeah, I'm gonna have to say, I don't think the people who find the romance in this game good are wrong, Pedro. It's again, like I said, it's a case where it's
the same thing of someone enjoying a harmony book. Yes, you do know that it's very cheap, and there's so much better and more complex stuff written on it. But I can see why someone actually enjoys it.
I have the problem with the harmony book thing.
Unlike 13, this game actually remembers the legacy of its predecessors, and actually uses the Final Fantasy theme in its credits.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing, Tail. Go ahead.
And here's clips for a final FMV selfie recording a party
Actually, it's not
going on in.
Actually,
she's holding the camera most of the time.
that's the thing, too. Later on, it's not going to be her. So
That's because she asked someone else to hold it.
Hello everyone, and welcome to my
And she
vlog
feels a
series,
party going on
Selfie.
in Baron Garden with the rest of the party fucking around.
yeah.
Oh my god, Tio, you do realize that this FMB literally starts with Selfie taking a selfie?
Well,
let me
it's a
put
video, so
let
it's
me
not,
answer.
That's what I just said.
Let me just answer too. No, too. I'm okay with the harmony thing. That I'm okay with. Where I draw the line is where is when there's emotional abuse involved. I will not. I cannot abide by someone actually telling me that this relationship is something that I should like. To be honest with you.
Okay, like I've said before, it's obvious that that's not what's actually going on in the game. The problem is, like I said, the bad writing, which makes it come off as like that. Which is
and
why,
the way it's
okay,
based.
this is pretty much...
There's Cedar there.
Oh my god, Sid is dressed up as a Paul Justice.
And also
Well, that's how he's always dressed, Jova. That's how he's always dressed.
I know, but the shade of the colors looks exactly
Oh my
like
god,
a
Irving
Paul
took off his hat.
I understand.
Oh my god.
I understand that, Joe, but like I said, it comes off as X. That's how I'm taking it. I'm not really
Irving,
giving it any.
You were from Galbadia Garden. You don't have any, thoughts about Martine wanting to actually take him? No? Alright.
Whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's like I've said, though. I wouldn't... Okay, let me put it like this. If it were 13 you were talking about, Pedro, I'd agree that the people are wrong. I mean, I wouldn't say it right to their faces, but... Okay, 13 is, without a doubt, just bad from top to bottom. It doesn't have, some rushed development or, bad conveyance to
Oh, there you go. There's Zell gorging on the hot dogs. Sorry, Jova.
Yeah.
Hey, this is my food. You can't have it.
Also, Zell got a girlfriend.
Zell got a girlfriend.
Someone gets a GF.
Yes, just leave me there, guys. Come on, you're doing the word of favor.
No, we can't die like this.
And yeah, that's the now it's Irving who's holding the camera actually.
One has to wonder what will become of the
We nearly got killed by a giant sorceress lady. It cannot be a hot dog that actually killed you.
Hold on, there's something bad we haven't seen. Someone we haven't seen yet. Well, you're pointing out Selfie. Oh, there's Renoa. But she seems to be alone. Oh, fuck, the battery. No!
What the hell does that finger gesture even mean?
And now on to the final oh, actually, no, there are some...
No, there's gonna be some credits before we see the after credit scene, too.
Guys, I think I got it. I think I know what happened in the last bit.
Zell, did you forget to replace the battery again?
What, Sophie? I told you. You were the one that's supposed to do it. You're the tech genius.
I'm not a tech genius, you are.
So the argument kept going on and on.
There we go, there was actual mocap for these.
Yeah.
Go on, Jonah.
Now that's it, guys. Remain tuned because there will be an after credit scene. But it's like, okay, look, okay. Let me put it like this. With 13, if anyone tried to argue, oh, it's a good story, or oh, these relationships are good, then I would make an argument for why that person is wrong. Because here's the thing about 13. Not only is it bad from top to bottom, but we have 2 sequels that clearly show that, no, that was clearly their intent. I mean, sure, they changed and reneged on it, but no, we have 2 sequels to show that the ideas were bad from the get-go. In contrast, with 8, honestly, how you take the story can be taken in multiple different ways. And like I said, now knowing what we know that, yes, this game was also a victim of the spirits within sucking up resources, so a lot of stuff didn't get properly concluded here. But like I said, I honestly do feel like a lot of the stuff here is genuine here and there. The problem isn't even just in the execution, it's again how it's conveyed here, because there arguably is a lot of development for Squall and Renault's relationship. Granted, you may not like it, and I would completely understand because, again, it's conveyed badly, but for the people who do like it well, they probably see it as, actual build-up to their relationship here and there. Yeah, we joke about how it comes off as abuse here, but unlike, say, something like Twilight, which pretty much does admit that, oh yeah, sure, we were that terrible, we're just running with it, 8 actually was trying something different. Again, just wasn't conveyed the best. Anyway, final FFMB.
Yeah, because it's time to see, who Rina was talking to, but with a bit of a caveat, just
Oh
say.
shoot, my
You don't
squall.
see them?
My squall actually.
Well, no,
still
we actually do
feels
see it
good.
now, but remember how things have been framed so far, Shiroi.
Or Squall not invited to the party or something.
No.
Maybe he-
Oh,
A
shooting
shooting
star.
star. Make a
Stop
wish.
with that fucking gesture. Oh no, Skull's... Ah!
Oh my
Skull's
God.
smiling! Put that
He's
thing
smiling.
away. And yes,
Well,
we're
we
gonna
want
have
him
a
to show
romantic kiss.
emotion.
Aww.
Thanks.
Hey.
I'm
Hey.
sorry, that joke works so well when Adam and his spouse do that for commentary that I got to steal it.
And meanwhile, Squall's just thinking. So did Zephyr? So did
And the
Cypher?
garden runs not into the sunset, but in this huge moon.
To the moon! And meanwhile,
Where
Squall
they all
is thinking about.
suffocated.
And meanwhile, Squall is thinking while kissing Manoa. So did Cypher get fired, or did we just let him off?
I don't care, I still like girls older than my age.
Enjoy that, Cypher. Enjoy that.
You wanted to, you wanted,
Good for you.
you wanted to say something, Shiroi?
No.
Oh, but
Oh, it
Dwebs.
sounded like you did.
Yeah. Well, whatever. Dwebs, final thoughts, please.
Okay, it won't be too long. I'll start with the positives. Graphic. Okay, I'm not sure if it's because of the remaster, but by 1999 standards, graphic-wise, it's really good. Music-wise, the music's fine, but it's definitely not my favorite part of the soundtracks that I've heard so far. As for me, I mean, I can't really judge voice acting because there isn't any. And that's about it. I mean, battle-wise, I mean, it's fast enough. It's just there's that junctioning system. I mean, I much prefer having my own, collecting my own spells and that, and then running out, as opposed to having to yank them from somebody else or somewhere.
You prefer something like the materia system, I'm guessing.
Well, or Pokemon, really.
Sure.
I mean, I know this isn't Pokemon, but still. As for the story, it was certainly a story. I'll give it that.
Brilliant.
Where of course, it's a story where abuse is considered love. The best character in the game is the Genki girl.
Yeah.
Okay. Aside from the what's his name?
No. Honestly, Selfie really is the best. I mean, Irvine is fine, but Selfie feels like more the full package than
Yeah, that's a
Irvine.
favour. What I thought I was gonna hate Selfie.
No, it's
Go-
like
going
I
into
said.
it.
It's like I said. It's the Yuffie factor. Oh yeah, people hated her because they remember more of the quote unquote annoying things. But when you actually play the game, it turns out she's not really that bad. In fact,
Well, mind at least Selfie doesn't steal anything from you.
that too, yeah. And hey, Selfie's actually useful because she can pilot the damn Ragnarok.
Yeah, well, if we're going off how Pedro plays her very erratically, but still. I'm surprised Pedro didn't bump into anything.
The way I play her is non-canon, so...
Are you sure? Cause
Sure.
Are you sure about that?
Go ahead and finish this.
And again, things are bad. When the character I was expecting to hate the most going into it is the best character of the bunch. Everyone else is either just bland, starts off strong, but then just kind of peters out at the end, or are named Cypher.
Cypher
Seriously.
goes fishing in the end.
It's seriously, Cypher. It's like there's no good beginning or ending with this guy. Cypher starts off as an annoying brat and ends as a brat who likes fishing.
Cypher's Fishing Adventure 8.
Yes.
It's more so...
Make it happen.
It's more so, Dibs, that he spends 80%, not more, even 90% of the game off screen, so you don't even know what the hell he's doing most of the time.
I know what he was doing. Whining.
I guess. Well, I
Yeah.
guess.
I got it. He's for 90% of the game. He's in his bedroom, moaning to himself. The score gets all the luck and the ladies, while he has to stand around waiting to do stuff.
Just kiss already, for fuck's sakes.
Alright.
And Squall himself, I don't know. I mean, for the most part, he just came off to me as an angsty plank of wood.
What about Renoa Drips?
Renoa is Renoa is an abusive plank of wood.
What about Ultimecia?
He
the
said it, not
actual
me.
villain.
Ultimecia. She's a hammy plank of wood.
Wait, a hammy but wooden one.
I mean,
That sounds like
it
a
is
paradox.
possible, Joe, but you can.
Yeah, so
It is possible to yell and still sound monotone.
True.
I mean, it's not everyone who's hammy can be William Shatner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is there any character that I missed?
Zell?
Twisters?
Okay. Yeah, Zell falls into one of those categories I mentioned earlier. It's just bland. And Christus is one that started off interesting, but then just kind of fell off.
What are you talking about, Dribs? It's such a deep character moment that her sisterly feelings made her want to screw the boy who she thought of as a little brother. Sweet home Alabama.
It's like one of those really weird animes.
Okay. I know I've said that stuff can just be conveyed badly, but that is straight up what they wrote here.
Like, that is what she said. Like,
it's like that bit in Return of the Jedi where Leia says that she always knew that Luke was her brother, and that
She still
includes
kissed
the
him.
moment in Episode 5 where she snogged him something fierce.
Oops.
And okay, I think I've sorted out all the characters and the what. Okay, as for the story itself, yeah, like I said, abusive relationships are heartwarming. Time travel's bullshit if you don't do it correctly. People are arseholes. What else is? I got one. You can build up stuff, and then it just kind of peters out at the end, like building up who the main boss of the garden is.
Hell, this
squid creature who we never see again.
Debs, forget the end. How about things start and peter off before we're even done with the first disc? Like the timber plot. Like, seriously, this game is literally a complete cycle of thing happens and goes away. Thing happens, goes away, and no payoff to any. That's why I actually do it. That's why I do it. That's why for us, even though it has its problems as well, I can at the very least appreciate the Laguna's ending because at the very least they gave us actual closure with that. At least,
Pedro, I think I realized something. An eighth installment in the series that has good ideas but executes them poorly.
Yes.
One character is considered the best part of it and has a mostly forgettable soundtrack.
No, he's referencing The Last Jedi.
Oh, yeah, that fits.
The only thing it lacks is that at least this doesn't mindlessly go to a casino place that doesn't.
And hey, at least Final Fantasy VIII doesn't mess with characters that we liked in previous installments.
It wouldn't be able to. It's like placed in a different world anyway.
Could you imagine if 8 was the one where they decided? Well, technically, Gilgamesh.
Well, but
Gilgamesh awesome.
Gilgamesh only shows up for a bit and goes away anyway. So
I'm mostly joking, but can you imagine if this was the game where they decided, hey, let's actually make stuff connected, and it turned out that Cloud shows up, but old and now.
To be fair, Jova, the ultimate weapon enemy as Cloud's ultimate weapon, actual weapon. So I wonder what kind of shenanigans happened.
Maybe Cloud junctioned himself or something.
Okay, for me that's about it. It's just kind of. I mean, there are some bits that I remember, but for the most part, because of how bland everything else is, this is something I probably won't remember that much. If this game gets a 7 remake-esque treatment in the future, I'd be all for that because I am a firm believer that sometimes the best remakes can be ones that are based off stuff considered bad.
Sure.
That should be the entire point of
because the bar is on the floor.
Making a remake so you can fix what was wrong with the original.
Well, to be fair to you, there can be remakes of good stuff.
True, Waves, but I do believe the priority should be, on ones that could have had more potential but could not actually take advantage of it.
So tune in next. Tune in next time for our playthrough of Final Fantasy XIII remake.
No, thank you.
Guys, if the monkey's paw wish happens, you'll have no one to blame but yourselves.
Actually, it's you who brought it up.
Yeah, but you said remake.
Whatever, Samantha.
Well, you'll be joining us for that one.
Yes.
Yeah, if that comes true, Dwibs, you have to join us for that commentary.
Yeah,
then.
I'll join you guys in about. Anyway, that's it. I'm done.
Shiroi.
Well, I don't hate it, if that's a compliment. 13 was just... I mean, I completely took myself out of that one. But this... aside from the terrible, terrible implications with the relationships going on, there isn't anything really I outright hate about any of this. Even even with the mechanics and how they work, I mean, they're not a terrible idea in theory, and they'd probably be quite interesting. The actual issue with it is the fact that it was explained so terribly. But it did not sell anyone on it at all. I don't really care for a lot of the characters, especially not the ones I was given. I don't really like them at all.
What about Ultimecia?
Well, I remember you said...
Yeah, she came and went, Jova.
Well, Shiroi, I do remember you saying you like Chu. So there's that.
I don't remember.
The seed from Balam Garden that told Savor to fuck off.
She disappeared.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
She disappeared in Seed, and these two, much like the rest of the characters from Balam Garden, like Sid and Nita.
Mm-hmm.
What are you talking about? Ultimecia was technically there from the start, possessing Idea.
Sure.
We just didn't know.
Wasn't on screen, don't care. I started to like Selfie more, as I said, quite a number of parts ago, but they just kind of dropped the ball on her, and not in the sense that they made her annoying again. It's more like they didn't do anything with her, and that's largely the problem with the characters in this game. It's like, we'll introduce this, but don't expect us to do anything. And characters do just up and disappear.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand really what they were thinking.
My take on it is this. A lot of the stuff that gets brought up but never resolved is literally, it needs to happen for the sake of introducing this or that. The whole Timber thing, that's how we properly introduced Renoa, so they couldn't cut that out of the story, but then they forgot to properly resolve it. The whole thing with Idea, that's how we get the Ultimecia thing kicked off, which I guess that one does get its proper conclusion, but you see where I'm going at with this? It feels like it's definitely a story-driven plot. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that, but it does feel like stuff literally needs to happen just because story at times.
Mm-hmm.
And aside from things like the train sequence and the band stuff, which I kind of like, not necessarily the outcome of it, but like the process of it, like there isn't really a lot I find interesting gameplay-wise either. It's just... I think maybe that might tie into the this being a story-driven thing, because everything else just seems to be there just to get us from each plot point. And going back to characters, Renoa's introduction I actually liked, if you remember, but then everything kind of went to shit very quickly.
Oh yeah, Renoa had a very good introduction here.
She did.
The music is fine. I'd already heard an amount of the soundtrack before coming into this. It's not my favorite by any means, but it's good. Like what else? Like there's a lot of things that because this was mentioned to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm going back to things that were just sort of introduced and then dropped. The octopus
Yep.
Yeah,
guy
Norga.
thing.
Yeah.
That's
Did the game ever actually explain what he's an evolution of?
Yes,
Technically,
Shiri.
kinda,
I mentioned
yeah.
I mentioned this the part where we found it, and you can find also in the highlight. If you come back after the fight, there will be 2 representatives of the same race, the Shumi, that will
Yeah.
tell you that he was a bad apple, and then because of his greed, he evolved into that kind of form. But he will also note that the cocoon has hatched, and there's no one inside anymore. So again, they left that open with the idea of Norg seeking revenge, but they never actually concluded out of that.
So they did actually explain it, but they still didn't conclude anything to do with
yeah.
it. Okay. I'm not sure what else to say about this. This just kind of... I'd say
mess?
this is more... yeah, but I'd say it's more of a bump in the road than anything, like...
Oh no, it was. No,
Pretty much.
compared to anything series damaging like 13 was.
no.
Absolutely.
Right after this, we got 9, which is one of the series' best games. This was, for the time, just a bump in the road. However, what was at the time just a bump in the road was, let's face it, this was the series planting seeds for what we would see later. Because a lot of the crap that we would see magnified in stuff like 13 technically started here. The bad writing, the melodramatic scripts, a lot of stuff. This is kind of an alpha version of what we would see later. A lot of the seeds were planted here.
Not only that, but to an extent, the whole trying to recapture specifically the magic of 7. I'm not
Yeah.
going to say like 8 is as shameless. Okay, 8 does not do it to the extent that 13 did, but like I pointed out throughout the playthrough, there are a lot of cases where you can definitely say, I see. Reminds me of 7 here. I mean, here it's more cheeky and they diversify themselves enough so that it feels different enough. But yeah, Pedro and Tio pretty much spent a lot of the time with the 13 trilogy pointing out how that thing just desperately wanted to be the next 7. And turned out to be, in fact, the anti-7 in regards to reception.
Yep.
But anyway, I can see why people would like some of this stuff. It's fine, but I'm probably going to forget about this very quickly, personally.
Ironically, you'll probably remember most about Sophie.
So-
like Dwibs.
I had to
Well,
ask.
I play Kingdom Hearts, so, but yes.
I
Pedro.
I have to ask Shiroi. Now that you've had the entire Final Fantasy VIII experience, what are you going to report to Alice about it? Since I'm assuming you two probably talk about this sometimes.
Yeah, I still don't understand what's going on.
Well, be sure ask her and then
Well,
report.
neither does she, that's the thing.
Well, nobody does, Shiroi, because like we've discussed various times, the game doesn't explain a goddamn thing to us. But anyway, are you done?
Yes, I'm done.
All right, Jove. I know you want to get a lot off your chest, so I'll let you go next.
Okay. Believe it or not, I've always been at a crossroads with this game. Before I finally got around to playing it, I had heard a lot about this game. People constantly arguing. It's bad, it's good, it's terrible, it's great, it's the worst thing ever, it's the best thing ever. I honestly think this is the most polarized Final Fantasy game.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, like even more than 10. Like the 10, most people like it.
No,
I mean, there's still...
most people like 10. Like there are people like me who hate 10, like me and Teo who hate 10, but for the most part, people tend to like 10. 8 is literally a 50-50 thing, basically.
Yeah, literally right down to it. I'm gonna say this. I like Final Fantasy VIII. But I like it in spite of way too many flaws here and there. Why do I like it? Well, it may seem
I actually think I know a way we can phrase that, Jova. You like the idea of it rather than the final product. I think that's the best way to put it.
Yeah. I mean, okay. I still did like the product itself. I had enough fun. I mean, don't get me wrong, I did not really like the junction system, but yeah. I think what I do like most was what this game was supposed to have been as opposed to the final product. I mean, I still liked the final product, but the final product can be very, very, very frustrating. Like you have, like as mentioned, plot details that are brought up but never concluded properly. character interactions that can come off with very bad implications. And again, Quistis wanting to bang what was essentially her little brother. It's charming, ain't it?
I mean, technically they're not blood related, but
Well, I mean, they were pretty much raised with the mentality of brother and sister.
There are situations, Pedro, where people growing up together without being bound by blood do feel, that kind of thing. So potential romantic relationship feel awkward to them. There's an entire movie that talks about this kind of conflict.
I think what makes it awkward is that Quistis literally states that the reason she was trying to bang Squall was because of her sisterly feelings for him. Like, I mean, when you word it like that, well, again, that's pretty much this game in a nutshell. I don't know if we can blame this more so on the localization or if it's an issue even in the original script, but oh boy, this game is meme-worthy for how badly stuff gets conveyed here and there. Let me put it like this. I do see a good story in a lot of the places that we critiqued here. The problem always comes down to how it's conveyed, though. Like, I can legit see a romance going on between Manoa and Squall, but the dialogue doesn't really do it favors. Again, unless you saw it differently, this is part of why I feel like this game is incredibly polarizing. Either you do see the genuine good ideas that are here, or you're distracted by the questionable dialogue here and there. And this is like I said this. I am willing to give Katase and team the benefit of the doubt strictly for this game. For later stuff where Katase was clearly off his rocker, but this game, I really do feel like a lot of it did get screwed over by Spirits Within, because literally the whole thing with Cypher feels like a few cutscenes weren't able to get fitted in here and there, but they were too far into development, so they couldn't really take it out here. Like, that is legit the only reason I could see Squaresoft of the time, because, they were more competent back then, legit leaving that stuff out here. And the same with other plot resolutions that don't feel like they're properly fleshed out or left out here and there. Now, this does not excuse the matter, but I will say this, like I said, 8 is a game I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt here and there. That being said, it does, like I said, have a lot of problems here and there. The junction system is a very make it or break it kind of game here. And I'm just going to reiterate what I said earlier. If this had been maybe for like its own separate series, and I get it, even Final Fantasy does change stuff up, but man, you have not seen changes this drastic since Final Fantasy II. And we'll get to that eventually. But yeah, it kind of trivializes some monster encounters if you're going with the regular mentality of grinding here and there, unfortunately. Now, you might like the junction system, and that's perfectly fine. The junction system is capable of being fun. Problem is, it really does seem to go against the core aspect of being, your typical RPG, which, again, Final Fantasy II aside, Final Fantasy felt like it mainly did follow the basic structure of it. Sure, yeah, there were new bells and whistles here and there, but never a drastic change to this level at this time before. Now, as to the characters themselves, well, I do see what they're going with Cloud here. He's actually a rather unique protagonist at the time.
You mean Squall?
Didn't I say Squall?
Nope, you said Cloud. Oops.
Thanks for proving our point. Go ahead.
Well, to be fair, even I pointed it out too, but yeah, okay, fair enough. Slip of the tongue there. Squall here, okay, whereas Cloud was always bold and had his mindset of, the cool loner type, but was secretly inside, obviously, a dork who wanted to look cool, essentially. Squall is an introvert here. He has not had the best life here and there, and he has had people literally run out on his life, his own beloved dad included, thanks a lot, Laguna, essentially leaving him to not want to rely on others here and there. So, when he finally does get a band of people he can actually start to care about, he has trouble dealing with it here and there. Hence, how it does come up like he's only thinking of Renoa, but in a sense is really more so him just trying to figure out how to express the feelings that he is now realizing here and there. So, again, interesting character point. Again, though, that could all be negated by how the player interprets the story. And again, going off the dialogue, and hell, even some of the character actions like Renoa pushing Squall off into that glass satellite here and there, again, I get the team means well. Oh, perfect transition. Renoa here. Again, I get what they're going with. The upbeat girl here who does want to legit help her guy, and this eventually evolves into her developing feelings for him. I get what they were going with. But again, it wasn't conveyed the best, and unfortunately, Renoa can come off as not that nice, all things considered, with how the dialogue reads off here and there. Zell, he wants to be friends with Squall. I'll admit, I don't really see any deeper meaning with Zell, honestly. Selphie, ironically, is a character that I feel has a lot more depth than people do give credit to her, seeing as how she does have stuff to legit worry about. She does have a character outside of just being the typical Genki girl that people remember her for being here and there. So, good stuff with Selphie here. Irvine, he's actually an interesting character as well here and there. That said, I do have to dock points for him not telling everyone that they were from the same orphanage. And that, oh, by the way, Idea, the sorceress who at the time was the bad guy, is our mother here and there. Which leads me into my next transition. Yeah.
It's like the same way that some call me Johnny has verbal tick. Jova's verbal tick is here and there, here and there, here and there, here and there, here and there.
But yeah, that leads me to my next thing here and there. The wasted potential and some ideas.
Go on, sorry.
All across the plot here. The problem with this is like, well, okay, how cool would it have been if they had actually had run throughout the entire game with it that Idea was the bad guy here? Imagine, the villain is not just somebody that the characters looked up to, like, say, Sephiroth, but was someone who was genuinely their mother figure and someone that they have to go against. Now, granted, I suppose it is nice that it turns out she was good all along and well, but I do feel like that could be actually an interesting idea for a legit one here and there, which, oh, yeah, 10 kinda did do, sorta. It's very, very, very complicated here and there. But, yeah, overall, in regards to it, like, there are a lot of ideas that could have really rocketed off. For example, well, I mentioned the Idea thing, but again, why did they not run with the idea of Renoa being Ultimecia? That alone would have actually have added a lot of nuance to everything. And it would have made sense considering how Ultimecia possesses Renoa. It would have gone with the whole, oh, you kind of need to be connected to the soul of the past in some way, shape, or form to possess it more powerfully or something and all that jazz here and there. Ultimecia as a villain, she has a cool design. Doesn't get as much presence as one would think. Yeah, technically it was her speaking through Idea. But, well...
And what is up with that hair, by the way? Seriously, she has her hair like giant steer horns. Like, that's another one of the character designs.
That those were actual horns.
No, that's actually a haircut.
Again, it's one of the character designs in this game that I genuinely dislike because it just looks stupid.
That being said, like, I'll just sum it up. There are a lot of interesting ideas here, but they don't get the most potential here. Next bit. The music. It's good. Not as good as 7's, but it's overall good and fine here and there. Now for the bonus round regarding characters, because I almost forgot our good old pal Cypher!
Yay!
So, here's the thing with Cypher. You may recall I mentioned in our Apollo Justice commentary how Zach Ramieri feels like the kind of character who seems like he's a jerk, but you secretly figure out his true purposes, and it turns out, oh no, he was actually a good guy who had purpose to the stuff he did that seemed like a jerk. But as you recall, it turned out Zach Ramieri was just a jerk. This is essentially Cypher in a nutshell here. Like, you think, okay, this is going to tie into how, you know, as a kid, he was good, but he got blinded by his dreams of wanting to be a knight and everything. That resolution of him becoming a good guy never happens, or at least it doesn't happen on screen, because, may I remind you, the last thing we saw of him before the FMB is him literally going mad and forcing Renoa to merge with Adele.
We are clearly missing at least 1 or 2 steps.
Yeah, I legit do think that stuff legit got lost in the transmission thanks to the Spirits Within. And like I said, it doesn't excuse it. But goddamn, Spirits Within really was the Final Fantasy XIII of its time. That demonic eldritch abomination of a product that sucked the life out of other projects around it, taking their resources and everything. Ugh. But yeah, Cypher is a shame, because I clown on him a lot, but he is actually interesting. He is legit a character who, well, he's funny. I said it. He's legit funny, and he gives sort of a sense of relief from attention. Ironically enough, but he feels like a character who we can actually, get to on something of a personal level, even when things are going incredibly complex and Da Vinci Code on us, as per typical Square here and there. Again, the sad thing is that at the end, his character arc isn't properly completed. I guess he's a good guy. Did he get fired? I don't know. Does the Ultimecia guide explain these things to
No,
you?
Jova. Again, at the end of the day, we just have to assume that he got forgiven by all of his war crimes.
And I'm guessing Mr. Kataze hasn't...
No, not that either.
Not even just that. Like I said, he's got his posse back for no reason. Like, there's not even any hint of how he got...
Remember, they do the part in actual good terms. It's not like he's angry at them nor he tries to kill them. So I get the idea they actually left open the possibility of him coming back to them if he changed his mind, which I guess that's what happened. Remember, there's also the fact that he was technically brainwashed by Ultimecia at that point, even though it still had some kind of personality attached to it.
I just don't like...
if they had just said, oh, he was released of Ultimecia's control or something, that could have so solved it.
I just don't like having to fill the holes myself. It's your job. It's your job as the writer to tell me how this got to that. I'm not the writer here. You are.
Oh, I definitely agree. And like I said, even though Spirits Within may be the reason for it, I do feel like they could have, at the very least, have added some dialogue saying, oh, now that we defeated Ultimecia, everyone who was under control, including Cypher or whatnot, is probably freed or whatnot, or say that he was under control and by defeating her,
that is the big problem, Jova. As soon as Ultimecia is dead, that's it. The game is over. There's no real epilogue as such with FMVs.
Yep.
It's weird. Like, on the one hand, it's nice getting to fight the villain more directly, which was kind of a thing lacking in the original 7, essentially. But, I don't know. I mean, with Sephiroth's defeat, there was a lot more nuance to it. Like, was he truly gone? Was his influence truly defeated? And yeah, it turns out, no, it wasn't, but there's a lot of nuance to it. With this, it feels a little cut and dry, and that's not always a bad thing. Trust me, if anything, Square could learn to be more simple here and there. But this feels a bit like the other Xtreme where, oh, you defeated the bad guy? Even though there's a time loop here, don't worry, everything's gonna be hunky-dory. You get your happy ending and everything.
Yeah, almost as if it's too good to be true, right, Jova?
It's weird, honestly, that this game never got a follow-up.
More of my final thoughts, but go on.
Okay, so that's that. I'm pretty much said my bits about the story here. Now, one thing the game definitely excelled at and did its job properly were the visuals here. For a PlayStation game, this looks flipping amazing here and there. Congrats to the visual and arts department. And hell, even remaster-wise, it's a pretty good remaster that does legit make the game as a whole look better. As a remaster should. But yeah, honestly, the visuals do look amazing. And yeah, in regards of technical show power here and there, this game excels in them some. So, congrats there. But overall, my final thoughts on this game. It's a Final Fantasy game that I do like, but I like it in spite of its problems here and there. Do I like this game? Yes. Would I say this game is a good representation of Final Fantasy? Fine enough, but far from the best. Would I disagree with you if you said this game was bad? Hell no. Like I said, I easily see both sides of the argument here and there. You're likely either going to have a good time or a bad time with this game. I'm just happy to say I had a good time here, but it can go either way. Next.
2.
Okay, let me start before with the couple of headcanons. First of all, the more obvious. One theory that hasn't been explained, hasn't been debunked by Kitade, so it could be potentially up to interpretation. It will explain Squall's behavior shift, something that Slash B theorized back then in 2009, actually.
Wow.
Okay, let me try to quote quickly. First part of the game, Eddie brainwashes Cypher, enemy becomes her ally, blah blah blah. Skip ahead to the end of this 2 where Reno becomes a sorceress. Upon this point, Squall is low like whatever, and Reno is just a clingy bitch but currently is trying to enter said person's pants. It is at this point where Reno becomes unconscious, and at this point Squall becomes, oh shit, I can't live with you not being awake. And is essentially brainwashed into walking her to the nearest place so she can get medical help. This nicely fit in Ultimecia's plan of opening up Adele's chamber. So they go do that, except Reno is still a sorceress, so she calls Squall to help her, who by now actually thinks he's loving her, because why else would he go to trouble? I mean, it's not like she can control others' minds subconsciously or anything. So he saves her, they somehow find a giant space vessel through Deus Ex Machina fashion world where space and time editing marries you, like all sorceresses are, and they come down. And on the way down, Squall finds Reno is a sorceress. At this point, Squall has to figure out what to do with her. Reno calls for help, tells him she's scared and wants to live in the present. And then, pretty much as soon as they depart, Squall essentially decides to become Reno's knight. Exactly how Cypher was Ultimecia's knight. So here's the interesting thing, the theory. As soon as she became a sorceress, Reno cast a mind control spell on Squall. He never loved her. At least not until she forced him to. That's why the love story is so forced. Because it literally is.
And Katase has not debunked that one.
To be fair, this is not as vocal as the Squall is dead or Reno's Ultimecia theory. But that's just something that, that I subscribe to from 4chan. There's another one that says that Reno is the true mastermind of the game without being the identity of Ultimecia, but I don't really care about that one.
This is exactly the problem, if you'll allow me. The fact that there are so many gigantic fan theories trying to explain the gigantic plot holes, that in itself speaks to how sloppily this plot is constructed. The fact that the fans feel such gigantic need to fill in the holes themselves in such elaborate ways. The fans are put more effort into explaining this crap than the writers did.
And these ties segues pretty neatly into the other major headcanon. What I do think about the ending. See, Jova, like I said, it looks very happy. Almost too conveniently happy. First of all, there's the intentional way of hiding Squall in the FMV with the camera, and only appears at the end, which a lot of people interpret that Squall never make it, and Renoa was essentially just, having a final escapistic happy thought in our mind. But here's my personal favorite of the bunch. The group never made it back. The FMV that we see in the present is true only when it comes to Cypher and Laguna's portions, which makes sense. Cypher could hypothetically still be left alive, and Laguna brought it back once he escaped the lunatic Pandora. Then everything got fixed, and they live their life just with the conscious that Ultimecia will be defeated in the future. Honestly, I do believe that it makes more sense if the group actually got either lost in time or actually died after killing Ultimecia. And that FMV, what we see at the end, with the camera and everything, is technically a party that the group was having like the night before going against Ultimecia, which is a very common cliche in Japanese writing, having the team having a night of reflection before going towards the final boss. If you remember, 7 has one, the Tales of Game tend to have one as well of their own. And this will kind of fit nicely into it, especially because, again, it feels so odd that we skip directly to the group already back in Balam Garden without any explanation on how they actually got back there, because we get this colony arriving at the place of the orphanage technically, but it feels more esoteric when you get down to it. So
you know, when you put it like that, it really does sound like 8 could benefit from a 7-esque remake to properly.
This is the thing. Honestly, this is the thing that I subscribe the most. The fact that, technically speaking, yes, the group succeeded in defeating Ultimecia, but then they died. They technically, perished in the time compression and all. Which honestly to me would be a better conclusion in that kind of way. But aside from that, what I think of the game in general, well, I did mention one or two parts ago that I do believe this would have worked much better as an actual spin-off instead of actually being labeled as a mainline title, considering how 11 and 14 as MMO managed to be more faithful to the franchise despite not being directly RPGs but MMO compared to this game. That says sadly a lot. I like the junction system in a morbid way, but again, I think it works better for a spin-off because again, it changes drastically so many things, like the money that you gain, the removal of the MP bar, the treatment of the magic, like Jova mentioned, ever since FF2, the gameplay system hadn't been changed so drastically, There's still, connotations that were still kept for each game, and this one yet to change it for no real apparent reason other for the sake of innovation, So in a way, I kind of like the gameplay system, but I do believe it shouldn't have belonged here, in a way.
Mm-hmm.
The visuals, they're fine on their own, but I still remain on my point that, aside from maybe one or two places or one or two vehicles occasionally, this is the point where the franchise starts losing its anime aesthetic in favor of more photorealism, and it's for the worst. The words, the setting look doesn't. It looks good for a PlayStation game, but the world looks uninteresting. The character design looks uninteresting. The places look uninteresting. I don't really care what happens in this world. While contrast, what we say, Ivalice. Ivalice is my ideal choice for a destination for a personal isekai adventure. This is just a very sterile kind of world in terms of appearance and what you can do with it. And this should be a great no-no for a Final Fantasy game. I'm sorry. For the actual story, it's unfold. We talked about it I talked about it basically in the entire game, but this is just a mess at best, or a terrible fanfiction at worst, and a very short one at that. Not much happens in 4 discs. Congratulations, guys.
Oh yeah, that's right. When I mentioned that, despite this having more discs than 7, it feels like the story is shorter. You said you had something to say about that regarding your final thoughts.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
When I had stated that, despite this having more discs than Final Fantasy VII, the story feels shorter than that of 7's. You said that you had something to draw up on that.
Yeah, like I mentioned, compared to 7 had a lot of stuff happening. Like, just the prologue in Midgar take a lot of time to do that. Then the entire journey through the world in Disc 1, then the entire events of Disc 2, it takes a lot. This feels like the events of Disc 2 and 3 and 4 could have been compressed into one single disc when you get down to it.
And that's another thing. This game has less mini games than 7, and
it has a lot of FMVs. That's why.
I think that's the thing. This game is definitely focused more on looking good than...
It's style over substance, something that a game should never prioritize on. But unless you're a visual novel, but in that case, well, you're barely a game to begin with in a way.
Kind of a core part of it.
No. Not to mention other staples of the franchise that are completely forgot, like the Chocobos and the Muggles. The Chocobos are still present in some kind of way. If you go to Windmill, you can see one or two, and there are a couple of forests in the world map where you can actually get one, but you really need to go out of your way. If you're going to get stuff like an actual Chocobo, GF, Muggles, and the Phoenix, you needed to use the pocket station. And since, we're not Japanese people, we could not use that. And Square sadly did not do anything to implement this feature in the remasters, if I recall correctly.
No.
So,
well,
sadly, it's a piece of content that has been lost.
Well, Teo, the 2013 PC release did implement it.
Did?
It did. That's basically...
But the remasters didn't?
Well, the thing is, the PC release had this thing where there was a screen with the Pocket Station thingy on the side that you could turn it on, like, basically. It did that, basically.
Okay. Where was I? Okay. Now, like I said, the story. The thing that I really like about the story, the one thing that I really like about the story is the planning. When the group is together and is planning their next move, they're making stuff like, for example, the train plan, the plan battle towards the Dollet, even the for how cheesy it is, the final one against the Lunatic Pandora. Those are the moments where the game does shine. This feels like the game should have all been about that, more about just taking the garden as your base and having missions to do from there, which is the concept that Type 0 will use. Again, Type 0 is a natural evolution of this game done right. So there's that, but that's pretty much it. Otherwise, I really don't like this story in general, even if it's unfinished or not.
I just realized something.
Yes?
How come Matron never recognized Squall in the future? Like, considering how he's the one who literally gave her the idea to host Seed.
You
stop
thinking about our plot and enjoy it.
Like, okay, normally I'd say GFs, but last time
there's the thing. When she's actually possessed by Ultimecia, I get the idea that the AI is not recognizing Squall at that moment.
Oh, no. My point is, after she's free of Ultimecia, why she doesn't recognize Squall.
I think she did. She did mention it, something like in the appearance. But again, that comes also to the point where the fact that the time loop is a mess. This is not the worst time travel story I've ever seen. Mind you, there are way worse examples.
It's actually surprisingly solid by time travel.
But that's sadly one of what makes it weak. I would have preferred, like I said, if the loop at the end was broken, like in the first game. Another way to homage the legacy that this game is supposed to be part of. But there's that. As for the characters. Squall, something one would actually reevaluated over time. Back then, I thought he was just a depressed emo git, but the more you grow up, the more you realize that he's kind of like the audience surrogate. Well, before he starts, being lovey-dovey towards Rinoa, So he actually became kind of better, but halfway through he kind of switches. Quistis, as one type of characterization gets concluded quickly in this one, and that's it. She's just a spectator for the rest of the game. Zell, like Pedro said, barely has any. Like, it's there to tag along and be the best buddy. It's the Joy Wheeler of... not even Joy Wheeler, probably the Tristan of the group. Without even story arcs. The only thing is that it's actually useful in combat. Selfie... Yes, she does have some stuff in Trabia and all, but I'm sorry, she's still too annoying for my taste. The game does nothing to actually compensate on that front. Even when the game tries to please take her seriously because it's a serious moment, it's very quickly forgot in favor of whatever is going on for the plot at that time. Rinoa. She's annoying when she's not a manipulative, mistress, and she's very creepy for being at her age, mind you. Again, 17 years old, folks. I still understand someone who actually enjoys the love story between her and Squall. I personally don't really care, and I don't know what they think about my policy about forcing a love story into your narrative. If it has to be taking over everything, and it's so convoluted, and you think it's the best thing ever, but essentially the moment it starts to be annoying, everything crumbles. Don't do it. You're only basically annoying the player.
Meanwhile, I'm just wondering what her father thought of all this.
General Conway, he stopped having an input. That's another thing. Again,
that's what I was wondering. Where the hell did he get?
No, he still remains in his mansion, mind you. Again, the things that this game forgets as well because of how unfinished it was. It
I
still
guess
doesn't
you can technically go and talk to him during
Yes, you
different
can.
bits of the story.
You can, but it doesn't
so,
really have major dialogue changes.
I think it's unfinished. This is what.
Yes, that's what it. That's what it is, Libs. It still doesn't really excuse what happened to Xenogears, but it's a story also for another time because these are gone already long enough. Okay, I'll talk about Renoir. Irvin. Irvin is the character I'm like the most back then. He was the cool dude with the coolest attire and all. Nowadays he's just a bear. I'm okay with his his pervy attitude and everything, and the fact that he gets his comeuppance. And I'm actually one of those people who actually enjoy a bit more the type of comedy he's subject to, this disproportionate violence towards someone because oh no, you're having perverted thoughts. It's a Japanese thing, and I'm more tolerant towards it. But I can understand if someone is not. But anyway, but that's basically the main theme. Sid disappears after the middle of these two, so there's not much to talk about him. He's kind of an asshole on his own rights. Cypher continues to remain my favorite thing about this game. It's by everyone mentioned, it should have been used more because I kind of have a soft spot for these edgy type of characters who you want to see how much they can push the envelope on that, just how much they can push themselves to what kind of fucked up thing they will do, which, again, considering how normally Yoko Taro games tend to answer that kind of thing, you understand where I'm coming from. His goons are just forgettable. Fujin and Raijin, they're just those two. They could have easily been Biggs and Wedge, honestly. They could have replaced, we could have actually given their names. Laguna and his own party, it's probably the more relieving thing about the game, but they also have their own moments. And again, sometimes the pace just breaks abruptly, but it's more of a pacing thing.
You actually made me think.
Now,
it breaks the pace so much that I forgot to even mention it in my final thoughts.
Would the game have been better if they actually put all the flashback at the beginning and then you move on from there? Probably. If I recall correctly, there is a game that lets you do that. Already one or two games that let you do that. But I don't know, honestly. It's clear that, like all other things, Laguna's flashbacks were unfinished to the point where the final boss of it, at hell, is not even confronting an actual fight, and Laguna just pushes there like that. It should have been basically an actual boss fight. I'm sorry. And so, as for the side content goes, it's fine, standard stuff, but there should have been a bit more. Even the stuff that I didn't ask Pedro to show, it's not much. But the music is fine for the most part. There are one or two tracks that I don't like, but for the most part, it's still a pretty fine soundtrack for me. It's the one of 10 that I kind of have the opposite feeling, but it has one or two tracks that I really like, but everything else feels just whatever. Last thing before I'm closed, I'm done. Yeah, the localization. Aside from one or 2 points, the English localization of this game, I'm sorry, really sucks. I really don't know if it was a problem of Square being forceful in controls or the fact that Richard had I had no experience or a combination of the two, but this just doesn't do. Again, lots of liberties taken for the sake of it that only ruins the product, which is the thing that I detest the most about localizations. So I'm sorry, I'm going to stick with the Italian one, which is a segue for my conclusion thing, because like I said, this was the first game that was officially translated in multi-file Italian, including my country. Yes, Pedro?
I'm seeing here on Moby Games too. He was also the localization coordinator and project lead of Xenogears as well. And the first thing, and yeah, both Xenogears.
I also can see that because Xenogears has a character which has a distinct accent, which might be questionable nowadays, but we'll get to that when we get to that.
Basically, Xenogears was his first major work in localization-wise, then this game, and so on and so forth.
Then 9 and so on. But let me use this again. This was the first game that was done really multi-file, and there's a strong cult following because of that. There's a lot of nostalgia. There are countless people that I know in my country are huge, dire fan of this game. So, if you're... Allow me to break for a second. If you're ever seeing this video, guys, for one reason or another, know this. I understand where you're coming from. I understand your feelings towards the game, and I'm not here to ruin your party. It's just the way that I see personally the game. I did it so for all these years, and I will continue to do it from now on, possibly evolving my final thoughts as a whole, as they happened with everything. But keep in mind that I don't have any ill intent on that. Anyway, that's it from me. Next.
All right, Pedro. Stage is all yours.
I don't really want to repeat shit because this is already going on long enough anyway. So I'll just voice on things that were not voiced, or at the very least I think could have been elaborated upon compared to the previous final thoughts before me. Okay, first off, let's talk about the fact that this game was much like, again, I said before that this game planted seeds for what would have issues that would later be magnified in 13, and the first one is the lack of a proper audience proxy, as in a character that actually can serve as a proxy for the audience. This is a very weird world, full of weird concepts like junctioning and seeds and whatever. And yet, every single character in this game already knows how the world works. Therefore, nobody ever questions anything. Nobody ever acts like a normal person would, because they already know how this... To them, this is normal. But to us, this isn't normal. And again, it just doesn't work, because... when you tell a story in a fantastical, weird world full of made-up concepts, you need to have a fish-out-of-water character that you can use to good effect. It's perfectly simple. The game right after this, Final Fantasy IX, did that with Garnet. Or Dagger, if you prefer.
Even 10 had it at that podcast.
Yeah, even 10. Even 10. For as much as I don't like that game, even 10 did this fine. By having Tidus be the stupid idiot that every time something confusing happens, Tidus acts stupid. Well, duh, what the hell is happening? And then Waka has to explain shit to him.
I mean, at least I feel there was a point and purpose to it.
No, Java, I'm complimenting that aspect in 10. Don't worry. I'm not saying this to this 10. I'm just saying that's the thing. 10 actually did that better than this game. That's what I'm saying. In here, there's no such thing. There's no character that actually doesn't know things. The most, like, even when something... Let's go back to Norg. When Norg shows up, Squall appropriately acts confused, but he doesn't actually properly... He still doesn't react entirely properly. Because, yeah, he doesn't really react confused. He acts more like, huh... That's weird. Okay, and then he just moves on. That's his basic reaction to Norg.
The most jarring thing about Norg isn't so much how it starts; it's how it just is gone.
It doesn't even Angela. It just poops.
Yeah, much
they
like
seem to hint that he'll be returning, but nothing comes of it.
Again, most of these things in the things in this game don't end, Joe. But that's why I appreciate Laguna's ending, because at the very least, it's something in this game actually concluded with closure. Miracle.
Like honestly, if I didn't know better, I'd have thought that they were sequel baiting with this game. Honestly,
this is why the Laguna plot is the only one that I like, because it's a plot that starts, continues, and concludes. See, how hard was that? You started the plot, you went with it, and you paid it off with a conclusion that offers closure. Not perfect by any means, like we talked about, but at the very least it's something. At least you bothered to conclude this one thing. And that's basically it. No audience proxy. Second, the fact that this game, like we've talked about, meanders. We were, like I said before, at the end of this Quan is nothing but meandering until we get to the last bit where we finally find the plot, the sorceress, because before we find the sorceress, everything in this Quan is basically just a waste of your time. The Timber Revolution has nothing to do with anything. The Dolly mission has nothing to do with anything aside from making them seeds. And again, there was a much better, less time-wasting way of doing that. So it's just the game is such a freaking mess of like, again, and nothing ties to it. Okay, I would be okay with detours if the detours at the very least had some kind of purpose. Okay, to use a game that we've already commented it on for the sake of England, let's take a bit about Ni no Kuni 2. In Ni no Kuni 2, the main plot is for Evan to build the kingdom that he promised Aranella that he would build. However, we also have these detours where we go into the gold paw plot, which involves corruption. We go into we go into broadleaf, which involves employee crunch. Social commentary there. So we do have detours that technically don't connect to the main plot. But you know what that game does? There's one particular link. When Evan goes into these places, he doesn't go there because he's specifically interested in helping them solve their issues. He's there because he has a diplomatic mission on his hands to establish a peace treaty with these kingdoms. Therefore, he has a reason to go there. And then later he helps these people figure out their problems because he wants to make a demonstration of good faith that he's actually genuine about his idea of a peaceful world, and therefore as a result, and then by the end we of course sign the treaty of the Declaration of Interdependence. As a result, the detour feels purposeful. There was actually a point to this detour. There's actually a connection to the main plot. See, you can do this. You just need to have a purpose. There's no purpose in the Dalek mission thing. There's no purpose in most of the stuff in this quad. There's detours all around. The Fisherman Horizon thing, for example. Fisherman Horizon, that's another detour that goes nowhere, basically.
Yeah, like the whole pacifism.
Yeah, that's like so many times in this game where you divert from the plot for no purpose whatsoever because nothing connects to anything. Whereas in Ni no Kuni 2, things actually connect. Things go back. In fact, after we help these kingdoms, they actually help us in return. So when we get back to the main plot. So again, there's purpose, conclusion, payoffs. You know, those things that are usually kind of necessary to make your story be satisfying. And that's basically it. That's all I'm asking. How hard was that? And yeah, so that's basically it. Aside from that, my thoughts basically boil down to an amalgamation of everything that has already been said, so I'm not really going to sit here and repeat shit again. The point is, I personally find this game to be an utter failure. Oh yeah, that's one thing I would like to say. In conclusion, I find this game to be a failure specifically for this specific reason. While I do understand the points made, at the same time, to me, what really matters at the end of the day is how the story is conveyed at the end, not so much what the intention was, because we can constantly talk all day about intentions. Oh, but they intended this, but they intended that. Well, okay, that's nice, but if that intention doesn't come across in the final game, I have no use for that. Like, I really don't. Like, if the script shows Renoa literally saying, and I quote to Squall, "Come on, am I not good enough for you?" I'm sorry, there's no other way I can interpret that other than the fact that this woman is a completely self-centered bitch. I'm sorry, there is no other way I can interpret a line like this. You know? Yeah, you can say, well, the way she meant that was supposed to come across... Well, yeah, that's fine, but like I can only read it as it is, you know? Like... The script says X, and there's no way you can make it say not X. It says X there. Maybe they intended for it to be Y, but, well, I don't see any Ys here. I only see X's.
Well, I mean, you can ask why.
Exactly. That's the basic point of it. The point is, this game pretty much fails. And it really doesn't flesh out barely anything. Aside, again, that's the one reason why I do like the Laguna's plot, despite it also having problems and stupidity abound, because something in this game actually concludes with closure that actually doesn't feel like completely moronic. That's something, at least. That's the one thing I can grab onto this game. And that's basically it. That's Final Fantasy VIII. That was a thing, I guess. But don't worry, everybody. And Shiroi, for the next time, depends. I mean, maybe we'll do Final Fantasy II next. Maybe we'll do Final Fantasy IX next.
considering our pace, so probably the next thing will be Final Fantasy 2 recorded by me.
That being said, everybody, for next time, so Teo did 7, I did 8, so I guess next it's time for me to pass the baton to Jova, who has offered himself to do Final Fantasy 9. He is even going to be able to do the best modded version, because since he's doing the PC version anyway. So
I'll see if I can get the mods running, or if I'll just show it in its wonderful, glorious nature. But either way, though, folks, you can definitely expect a few steps up, because the next feature and final one for the PlayStation trilogy is Final Fantasy IX, one of the most beloved games in the franchise.
and for good reason. See you.
See ya.
Yeah.
See ya.